continue on with our delving into the depths of Mareh Yaakov. Each week we try to introduce a shiur with a little bit from the Parshat Shiur, from the portion of Torah that we just read this week. We just read Balak this week, and as I had mentioned in one of the earlier shiurim, Torah is not prose. Torah is poetry, and perhaps the most pronounced times when you see the poetry is when you get to prophecies or when you get to songs. So certainly the Parsha of Balak exemplifies this, but I thought what I would bring is an example that shows you a thematic style that appears in a lot of the other quote-unquote poetry that seems to be couched in a rather mundane phrase. And we frequently see things in Torah that seem to be repetitive, and why did we say that twice, and why does that deserve immortalization twice? And we're going to learn how this Perush and the way that it focuses our eyes explains to us the rhythm and meter that we're supposed to be seeing. So Balak and Bilam are on a mission to curse the Jewish people, and at each of their stops, Bilam tells Balak that he should prepare for him seven altars, and they're going to give sacrifices on each of these altars. So in two of the three times when it mentions it, we have a rather mundane phrase. B'nei li vazeh, build for me here, sheva in this, sheva mizbachot, v'hachen li bazeh, and prepare for me in this again, shiva parim v'shiva yamim. So we have build for me here and prepare for me here. So this seems to be sort of repetitive. The first thing we're going to notice is when the Torah gets a repetitive phrase, quite often it will shift the emphasis by grammatical rules. So what you will notice is, and we'll perhaps put in the notes now just so that this becomes clear to us.
Sure.
Okay, I think it just because of the way that I wrote it,
Okay.
it probably will turn out better this way. So, B'nei li vazeh, we have a mercha and a tipcha. So these are connecting notes. So if we'll remember the grammatical rules for Beged Kefet, for Beit, Gimel, Daled, Kaf, Pei, Tav, that these letters, if they're at the beginning of a word, will normally have a dot in them, except if the word prior to it ends in Aleph, Hey, Vav, or Yud, and the notes connect the two. If the notes separate out the two, then the rule doesn't apply. So in the first phrase, you have B'nei li vazeh merchan tipcha. These are connecting notes. So the Yud influences the Beit, and the Beit loses its dot. But here, v'hachen li, the pashta, is a separating note. So bazeh, the Yud no longer emphasizes the Beit. So quite often when we see a phrase that's repeated, we'll see this. One of the influence parts are made to be in its weaker form, in its rafeh, in its weak form, and one will be in its stronger form with the dot. So we had said before that these actually influence what the word is doing. So when we talk about it in terms of poetry, we're going to notice that you get this influence that goes in and out, and you have to compare and contrast, even if it's a relatively minor word. the way that it's emphasized the first time and the way that it's emphasized the second time. So the first phrase, B'nei li vazeh, because this is a mercha, this leads into what's going to come after it. So build for me is not emphasized. What's emphasized? Bazeh, in this place. But not only that, so the place is what's being emphasized here. The thing with the tipcha, the thing that's sweeping forward from me. So we're not saying that Balak wants to emphasize himself here. We're saying that he wants to emphasize the place. But not only that, he's sort of diminishing the place at the same time, saying that the place is rafeh, the place is weak. Build for me here. This is a great place, but you're going to build it here. So he's both de-emphasized himself and de-emphasized the place here. The second time, the hachen li, a pashta, is something that makes that word stand out. So he's made himself important now, and he's separated himself out from the place. So he's saying, make it for me. You have to do it because I'm the one who's important. And if I'm here, then the place becomes important as well. The place is only important because I'm there in front of it. So this is a statement of Balak stating his own self-worth, and when he doesn't state his own self-worth, he diminishes other things around him as well because he still has to stay on top somewhere. So he's very self-focused, and we only see it because of this weak and strong and the separation out and the connection between the notes. So when we, God willing, go over more phrases in other parshiot, we'll notice this pattern of one phrase being repeated again in a similar way in the next half of the sentence, or a couple of sentences down, and again with one letter emphasized and then losing its emphasis one way or the other, and that tells another story. And this parush really brings out the fact that we're telling another story.
Cool.
So, Parshat Balak.
Go ahead.
We're going to pause for a moment.
Yeah.